Millionaire begs poor girl to give him a charger for his phone. He didn't know she was unique. Liam Hayes was deep in concentration, the buzz of his luxury electric vehicle providing a gentle background to the city lights outside. He was supposed to attend a late-night meeting, but a false turn and a sudden problem in his car's navigation had led him down a narrow, unfamiliar street. As he realized his mistake, the automobile let out a soft sigh and came to a stop. The battery was inexplicably dead. He sighed, reached for his phone, and swore beneath his breath. The screen was black. Dead, too. Liam, a man who addressed difficulties with a few touches on a screen or a phone call to his assistant, found himself completely disconnected. No car, no phone, and no way to call for assistance. He took a big breath and went out onto the pavement. The street was quiet and primarily residential, with a few small, older shopfronts tucked between houses. He saw a faint glimmer down the block, a neon sign reading Joe's Diner. It was his only hope. Emily Diaz cleaned down the counter at Joe's Diner as the late-night shift came to an end. It had been a long day, complete with continuous coffee refills and screamed demands. All she wanted to do was come home, take off her worn trainers and sleep. The bell above the door rang, and she looked up, anticipating another tired truck driver or a bunch of students. Instead, a man was standing in the doorway. He appeared out of place, dressed in a fitted suit and exuding calm irritation. He looked around uneasily, his eyes widening. "Excuse me," he murmured calmly, despite the obvious concern. "My car just died, and my phone's dead too. Is there anywhere around here I could, perhaps, charge it? Or a payphone?" Emily leaned against the counter, a slight smile forming on her lips. "Payphones? Haven't seen one of those in years, mister. And we're a diner, not a charging station." She noticed his shoulders droop slightly. "But," she said, scooping up a charger from behind the bar, "my shift's almost over. You can use mine for a few minutes. It's not much, but enough to make a call if you hurry." Liam glanced at her with amazement. He had not expected such straightforward, unburdened friendliness. "You don't have to do that," he said, feeling a flush rise up his neck. People always wanted something from him. "Already did," she responded, putting his phone into an outlet behind the store. "Now, go on. Make your call before someone else needs the plug." With no other option, Liam agreed. He watched as his phone screen flashed to life, displaying a mere 1% battery. Enough. He instantly called his assistant, described the issue, and was informed that a driver would be there in approximately 20 minutes. He took a seat in an empty booth, looking back at Emily. Who was this woman? In his universe, every encounter and favor was accompanied by unstated expectations. But she didn't know who he was, and she wasn't trying to impress him. She had simply helped because she could. And no matter how hard he tried, Liam couldn't get it out of his mind. When his ride arrived, Liam felt strangely hesitant to go. He approached the counter, where Emily was stacking dishes. "Hey," he said, signaling her turn. She regarded him with mild curiosity. "Thanks," he responded, his words sounding inadequate. "You have no idea how much you helped me tonight." Emily gave a slight smile. "Everyone needs a little help sometimes." Before he could say anything else, she waved and returned to her job. Liam remained there for a time, observing her. He didn't even know her last name. But one thing was certain. He was not about to forget that girl. The following day, the pricey automobile and dead phone seemed like a distant memory. Emily's face, her plain friendliness, remained with him. He was one of the city's wealthiest men, the founder of a thriving technology firm, and he had just been assisted by a waitress who, based on her modest uniform and old shoes, most likely had far less than he did. His pride typically disturbed him when he felt vulnerable, but not this time. It was a feeling of something new, something genuine. Emily walked to the bus stop the next morning, prepared to work another shift at Joe's. Her little flat, which she shared with her grandma, was located in a quiet yet friendly neighborhood. Since her parents' deaths, she had worked hard to help with expenditures, juggling her diner job with online art lessons. She enjoyed painting and hoped to create a small art studio where she could teach. Meanwhile, across the city, Liam awoke with one goal in mind: to find that girl. It seemed impetuous, but a strange pull propelled him on. "Sarah," he said to his assistant, "I need you to find me an old-school diner near where I was last night. It's called Joe's." Sarah, accustomed to Liam's unorthodox requests, simply nodded. "On it, Mr. Hayes." A few hours later, Liam strolled inside Joe's Diner, and the bell above it jingled. The air was dense with the aroma of coffee and sizzling bacon. He noticed her behind the bar, her hair wrapped back in a ponytail, her motions quick and precise. He approached the counter and waited for her to notice him. When she did this, her eyes expanded significantly. "You?" she mumbled. He inclined his head slightly in amusement. "Me. I came to settle my debt." Emily frowned, puzzled. "What debt?" Liam rested his arms on the countertop. "The phone charge. And the coffee. You didn't even make me pay for it. She gave a tiny laugh and shook her head. That was nothing. You don't have to do that. He raised an eyebrow. Then at least let me buy you a coffee. On my tab. Emily hesitated, but then shrugged. If that's how you want to settle your debt, that's fine. She poured a new cup and placed it in front of him. Have you worked here for a long time? He questioned. About 3 years, she answered. And besides work, what do you do? Emily looked at him, little suspicious. Why do you want to know? Liam gave a small smile. Because I'm curious. She thought for a moment. I take art classes online. I want to open my own little art studio someday. Teach drawing. Liam raised his brow, impressed. That's amazing. She shrugged. Just a dream for now, but I'm going to make it happen. He grinned, enjoying her determination. I believe in you. Emily chuckled quietly. How can you believe that? You just met me yesterday. He had a sip of coffee. Some people, you just recognize right away. She grimaced, unsure how to read this. But before she could react, a coworker called her name, forcing her to step away. Liam sat there, seeing her from a distance. He couldn't describe it, but he enjoyed being there. He enjoyed how she spoke and handled things so naturally. It was something new for him, and for the first time in a long time, it felt genuine. Days became a routine. Every morning, Liam would stop by Joe's diner and order the same dark roast. Emily feigned not to notice at first, but his presence quickly became a part of her daily routine. He constantly struck up a discussion, and their interactions gradually became more normal. Emily looked forward to seeing him walk through the door every morning. One day, Liam leaned on the counter while waiting for his coffee. Do you have a minute? She gave him a doubtful expression. Depends. I want to show you something. Emily paused, but her curiosity won out. Okay. Liam took out his phone and accessed a photograph. He aimed the screen at her, exposing the sleek, modern facade of a high-rise building with a unique insignia. This is my company's headquarters. She blinked in amazement. You own that? Technically, I'm the founder and CEO, so yes, I run it. Emily studied the photograph. Sounds big. He chuckled. It is. She returned the phone and crossed her arms. You must be used to places like that, right? Liam shrugged. I built that world. But lately, I've realized that luxury isn't everything. She lifted her eyebrow. Why? He remained silent for a minute. Because sometimes the most valuable things are found in the simplest places. Emily wasn't sure how to answer. The way he stated it felt different, deeper. Before she could say anything, the diner became busy again, and she had to return to work. But that morning, for the first time, she felt as if there was something about Liam that she didn't quite grasp. For some reason, she wanted to find out. Emily noticed something while walking home that evening. A sleek black automobile was parked across the street from the bus stop, the kind she had only seen in movies. Liam got out of it. He did not see her. He was speaking to a stern-faced man in a suit. Emily paused, watching from a distance. Something about that scene seems odd. The Liam she knew took the bus, spoke plainly, and discussed starting a real life. But Liam was impeccably dressed and exuded authority. She felt a knot in her stomach. Was he not who he claimed he was? Swallowing hard, she determined she needed to find out. For the first time, she questioned whether she had made a mistake by trusting him. Emily paid closer attention to Liam at the diner the next morning than she had before. He was dressed casually, as usual, yet he exuded a quiet assurance that didn't mix with someone leading a simple existence. Good morning, he said, seated at the counter. Good morning, Emily said, keeping her tone calm as she prepared his coffee. You seem more serious today. She looked up. Just thinking about a few things. Good things? She shrugged. Haven't decided yet. Liam tilted his head and studied her. Can I help? Emily paused before asking. You told me you run a company, right? That's right. And what's the name of your company? Liam smiled, but it was a strange smile, as if he had anticipated the inquiry. Why do you ask? Curiosity. He took a big breath before responding. Hayes Innovations. Emily blinked several times. She recognized that name. It was a large tech behemoth, renowned for its pioneering software and secretive, genius creator. Luxurious, exclusive, expensive. A universe apart from her own. You. She stopped, attempting to find the appropriate words. You work for Hayes Innovations? Liam nodded. Yes. She observed him for a time, allowing it to sink in. And what exactly do you do there? He sipped his coffee. I'm the CEO. And the founder. The stillness between them lingered longer than Emily would have preferred. She felt her stomach fall. So that was it. He wasn't simply some man working in tech. He was Liam Hayes. Everything made sense now. The nice car, the sophisticated way he handled himself, the authoritative demeanor. He had withheld it from her. Why didn't you ever tell me? Liam gave a slight sigh. Because I wanted you to get to know me without my last name influencing anything. She chewed her lip, strangely disturbed. That doesn't change who you are. He gazed up at her. It doesn't change me, but for a lot of people, it does. Emily crossed her arms. So you think I would have treated you differently if I knew? He shrugged. I don't know, but I didn't want to take that risk. She remained silent for a minute, attempting to comprehend everything. You were right, she admitted finally. This does make me see you differently. Liam paid close attention to her. What do you mean? Emily released a gentle sigh. Now I understand why some things never made sense. You came here every day like this was the only place you had coffee. But someone like you could go to the best cafes in the city. Liam gave a little smile. And who says this isn't one of the best places? She blinked, astonished by his response. You really like it here? I do. Before she could react, a coworker called her name, forcing her to step away. But her thoughts were elsewhere. Later that afternoon, when Emily exited the diner, she discovered Liam leaning against his elegant car, waiting for her. She paused, crossing her arms. Are you following me now? He chuckled. Let's just say I wanted to make sure you'd accept another ride. Emily pretended to think things over. That depends. Are you still going to keep hiding who you really are? Liam smiled. I promise to be completely honest from now on. She observed him for a few seconds before groaning and entering the car. Liam occasionally glanced at her while driving. Are you mad at me? Emily gave a little laugh. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand why someone like you wants to be treated like an ordinary guy. He said, keeping his eyes on the road, because sometimes, being an ordinary guy feels more real. She looked at him for a time. So what is it that you really want? Liam remained silent for a moment. I'm trying to figure that out. Emily wasn't sure how to answer. The remainder of the trip was quiet but not uncomfortable. When they arrived at her house, Emily paused before going out. Thanks for the ride. Anytime. She nodded and shut the door, but before entering, she looked back and noticed him still sitting there, watching her. That night, lying in bed, Emily realized that something inside her was beginning to alter. Liam was somehow involved in it. Emily felt a subtle aching throughout the next few days. Liam no longer showed up to Joe's diner every morning. She persuaded herself it didn't matter because their brief interaction had been just that, brief. His absence, however, created a gaping hole in her routine, a vacuum where their comfortable banter had formerly existed. She drowned herself in work, painting late into the night, attempting to escape the pain of betrayal and the unforeseen void. Had he returned to his high-powered life, dismissing their relationship as a passing curiosity? Meanwhile, Liam experienced profound emptiness. He traversed the glossy halls of Hayes Innovations, attended numerous meetings, and signed million-dollar contracts, but his thoughts was far away, at a modest diner counter, with a lady whose simple honesty had shattered his entire world. The notion of losing her, genuinely losing the opportunity to show her who he was agonizing. He realized he had to do more than just send a message. He had to put his words into action. That night, Liam made a decision that would forever change his life. He would leave Hayes Innovations, not just temporarily, but completely. It was the only way to show Emily, and himself, that he wasn't bound by his family's past or the golden cage he'd erected. The next day, he summoned a meeting of his board, which included his father. I'm stepping down as CEO, he announced, his words clear and powerful, carrying a conviction he'd never felt before. His father, a powerful figure, glanced at him, bewilderment written across his face. This is a joke, right, Liam? No, I'm serious, Dad. The older man gave a low, unbelieving laugh. You think you can just walk away from an empire like this? From your destiny? I know I can, Liam said, meeting his father's hardened look. This isn't about some waitress, Dad. It's about me. It's about building something with my hands, on my terms, for reasons that truly resonate with me. You're about to throw away everything we've worked for. Generations of effort. It's not something I worked for in the way I truly wanted to, Liam retorted, his voice rising. It's something I inherited. A path I never chose. A path that, frankly, left me feeling hollow. His father remained motionless for a long time, a vein pulsing in his temple, before letting out a deep sigh. Do you even know what you're doing, son? Liam nodded, a real, unburdened smile finally forming on his lips. For the first time in my life, yes, I absolutely do. Emily was trying to rebuild her life across the city, but her determination crumbled when she heard the news headlines the next morning. Tech titan Liam Hayes resigns as CEO of Hayes Innovations, billion-dollar empire left behind. Emily read the piece at least 3 times, her pulse thumping frantically against her ribs. He'd done it. He'd actually walked away. This cannot be a coincidence. Did he do it for her? A rush of dizzying emotions flooded over her. Shock, astonishment, and a cautious surge of hope. Her gut twisted with a combination of anxiety and deep wonder. Before she could think twice, she grabbed her phone and scribbled a message with shaky fingers. Liam, we need to chat. Seconds later, Her phone vibrated with a response, sending a shock through her. "Tell me where and when." Emily took a deep, anxious breath before answering. "Join me at the quaint little cafe near the municipal park. The one with jasmine vines." Emily arrived to find the cafe virtually empty. She took a table by the window and watched the rain-slicked street, attempting to control her breathing and racing thoughts. Minutes later, Liam entered. He appeared different, not simply lighter, but as if a significant weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Although his demeanor remained solemn and waiting, he approached carefully, his eyes searching for hers, and sat across from her. For a brief while, the only sounds were delicate jazz music and the distant rumbling of city traffic. Neither of them spoke, leaving the air thick with unanswered questions and raw vulnerability. Emily finally broke the hush, her voice barely audible. "You really left the company?" Liam nodded, his expression steadfast. "Yes, why?" she demanded, desperate to hear his explanation and comprehend the gravity of his decision. He held her stare with genuine honesty in his eyes. "Because it wasn't what I wanted. Not anymore. Not after meeting you. You showed me there was another way to live. A way that felt real." She swallowed hard, her throat tight from emotion. "And what do you want now, Liam?" Liam took a long breath and rested his hands on the table, palms up in an open motion. "I want to build something on my own. Something that has true purpose, true meaning. And I want to build a life with you, Emily. If you'll let me." She scrutinized him, looking for any traces of the guarded guy she'd first met, but all she saw was honesty and a vulnerability that mirrored her own. "And what about me?" she murmured quietly, her voice shaking. Liam leaned in slightly, his voice lowering to an intimate level. "You've always meant something to me, Emily. More than just a simple act of kindness on a forgotten street. You're the one who showed me what I was missing." Emily felt a shudder shoot through her, and warmth radiated from her chest. "I didn't know if I could trust you, Liam. Not after everything." And now, she was silent for a long while, tears pricking at her eyes, before letting out a long, shuddering sigh, a choice resting in her heart. "Now, I want to try. I want to build a future with you." Liam felt great relief, and a faint, genuine smile appeared on his lips. "I promise, Emily. I will never let you down. Not again." Emily nodded, her sweet smile matching his. She realized then that something important had shifted. They were no longer simply two strangers from different worlds who had met in unusual circumstances. They were two souls, bruised but hopeful, who decided to embark on something fresh, something genuine, together. The days after their meeting in the cafe were a blur of activity, but this time was different. Emily and Liam relocated to a picturesque coastal town, a place Emily had always wanted to visit, let alone live in. The salty air and boundless horizon felt like a blank canvas, ready for new beginnings. They discovered an old, huge warehouse near the docks, its worn walls and enormous windows telling of buried stories. This would be the location for the Canvas Collective, Liam's vision of a community art center, and Emily's ideal art studio within it. Emily poured herself into the endeavor, letting her artistic heart fly. She spent hours sketching concepts for her workshop, imagining the ideal lighting for painting and the finest arrangement for pottery wheels. Liam, suddenly free of the corporate grind, felt revitalized. He methodically monitored the refurbishment, using his strong eye for detail acquired over years in technology to create a beautiful and inspiring space. They were creating something from the ground up, and each decision, every obstacle, strengthened their bond. "This is going to work," Liam exclaimed one evening as they sat on upturned paint buckets in the dusty warehouse, the sunset casting orange and purple hues across the high windows. Emily grinned as she sketched a design for a stained glass window. "You sound very confident," she joked, but her own heart was filled with hope. "Because I am," he replied, grabbing for her hand. "And you should be too." She exhaled with a familiar flicker of anxiety. "It's just, this all feels almost too good to be true. Like it could vanish any moment." Liam turned to her, his hands tight. "Why would it vanish? You deserve every bit of this opportunity. You've worked harder than anyone I know. Not for a fleeting moment, but for a lifetime of dreams." Emily gazed at him, seeing genuine honesty in his eyes and unflinching belief. "I just want it to work out, so badly." "It will," he said, hugging her close. "And even if there are storms, even if it's not perfect right away, we'll figure it out, together." She nodded gently, letting herself to relax, the last traces of skepticism fading. After all, Liam had demonstrated his word with an astounding leap of faith. One crisp morning, as Emily organized her freshly acquired art supplies in their temporary office within the transformed warehouse, Liam entered with a solemn expression. "We have a problem," he said bluntly, his typical lightheartedness replaced by deep anxiety. Emily's heart lurched. "What happened?" "The structural engineers just sent a revised report," Liam informed her, handing her a tablet. "The foundation, it's far more compromised than their initial assessment." We need to reinforce it completely. It's going to cost almost twice what we budgeted. Emily's eyes widened in surprise as she perused the page, the technical terms blurring in front of her. Her stomach churned. Twice? But our budget was already stretched so thin. The delay seemed like a brick wall slamming into their aspirations. It's a necessary fix, Liam explained, his voice low, or the whole place won't pass inspection. And honestly, it wouldn't be safe. And it means more time, likely another 6 months or more of construction. She ran a hand through her hair, her gut clenched in anxiety. What are we going to do, Liam? We can't afford that. Not now. Liam leaned on the rough-hewn table, his stare unwavering. I still have some personal funds, Emily. Enough to cover the initial surge, but it means pouring everything I have left into this. Every last dime. We'd truly be starting from scratch, personally. And we'd have to delay the grand opening by almost a year. The unspoken risk hung heavy in the air. If this failed, they'd lose everything, individually and collectively. Emily glanced at him, her heart aching from the enormity of his sacrifice. What if we make some cuts elsewhere? Scale back the initial vision? He shook his head, his eyes filled with intense determination. No, I don't want to cut anything from your vision, Emily. From our vision. This place needs to be exactly how we imagined it. A beacon for art, for community. A truly inspiring space. She drew a deep, trembling breath, her gaze shifting from the scary report to his determined face. This wasn't just about money, it was about their steadfast dedication to a common goal. Then we'll postpone it, she murmured, her tone stronger than she expected. We'll wait. I'd rather wait a few more months, even a year, and do it the right way, than rush and compromise everything we're building. This means too much. Liam's lips formed a slow, profound smile that spread to his eyes. That's one of the things I admire most about you, Emily. Your patience, your unwavering determination to do things the right way. Your courage. Emily smiled softly, with a glimmer of newfound strength in her eyes. I guess I'm finally learning to trust the process. And to trust us. He reached across the short space between them and took her hand, his thumb massaging her knuckles. We're in this together, Emily. Every step of the way. She nodded and rested her head on his shoulder. There were no more uncertainties at that point, despite the enormity of the challenges. They were creating something remarkable, something worth waiting for, and something that would shape their future. The delay sparked rumors and worries across the little coastal village. Rumors circulated that the Canvas Collective was too ambitious and might never be completed, but Emily and Liam maintained a united front. They visited the site every day, their faith unwavering, inspecting every beam and brushstroke of the renovation. And gradually, brick by brick, the art center began to take majestic shape. Emily began finalizing her studio arrangement, her hands racing over drawings, selecting colorful, earthy colors for the walls and robust, professional easels. She experimented glaze recipes for the pottery workshop, her hands covered in clay and her ideas unrestricted. This is incredible, Liam would comment as he watched her set up a new kiln or meticulously arrange an exhibit of her early works. She'd smile with a smudge of paint on her face. You say that about everything I do. Because everything you do is amazing, he'd say, his eyes full of warmth. Your passion. It's infectious. She laughed with a joyful, free sound. You're a good supporter, Liam, and the best taste tester for my experimental glazes. And I'll be the best art student at your studio, he smirked, clearly eager to learn. She glanced at him, her heart pounding. I never imagined my life would take this direction. From Joe's Diner to this, she said, gesturing around the changing environment. Me neither, he responded, holding her hand across the table and maintaining a steady, deep gaze. But I'm so incredibly glad it did. You opened my eyes to a world beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. Emily's eyes gleamed. So am I for a brief time. Surrounded by the fragrance of sawdust and fresh paint, she felt as if every battle, doubt, and bitter lesson had been worthwhile. However, life, as it always does, finds ways to put people to the test. Emily's phone rang one afternoon as she was methodically organizing a shipment of canvases. It was typically silent during business hours. The number was unknown, but an overwhelming premonition compelled her to answer. Hello? A man's voice on the other end, silky and unctuous, made her heart stop beating. Emily? It's been a long time, hasn't it? She felt her fingers tighten on the phone, and her knuckles turned white. What do you want, Mark? She asked her ex-boyfriend. The sound of his name left a bitter taste in her mouth. He was a ghost from a past she had frantically tried to forget, a history full of hollow promises, disparaging remarks, and disappointments that had taught her a hard lesson about trusting too quickly. On the other end, Mark gave a low, disturbing chuckle. Just wanted to see how you're doing, Em. I heard your little art project is actually making some waves. Surprising, considering. His words drifted off, leaving the implicit insult hanging in the air. Emily's stomach tightened into a painful knot. Her breath caught. "I'm not sure how you got my number, Mark, but please don't call me again." Her voice was solid, yet a tremble rushed through her. "Emily. Wait. But she'd already slammed down the phone, her heart pounding against her ribs. She didn't need it. Not now. Not ever again. She drew a deep, trembling breath, attempting to collect herself and shrug off the oppressive chill of his presence. Even after many minutes, the agony lingered, casting a shadow over her newfound tranquility. Later, when Liam stepped into the studio and saw her staring blankly at a half-finished painting, he knew immediately something was wrong. Her normal exuberant vitality had faded, replaced by a rigid silence. "Is everything okay, Em?" Emily hesitated, comparing the cost of silence against the ache of revisiting the past. But she promised Liam honesty. "Nothing serious. Just an unwanted call." He scowled, his eyes narrowing. "Did someone bother you? Who was it?" She forced a faint smile. It's really nothing you need to worry about." Liam approached, softly grasping her hand in his. His touch was grounding. "Emily, if someone upset you, if they're trying to undermine what you're building here, I want to know. You don't have to face anything alone anymore." She sighed, the dam bursting. "It was my ex, Mark." Liam's jaw tightened noticeably, and his eyes darkened with protective rage. He knew Mark. He recognized the type of man who would dismiss Emily's dreams as little art projects. "Does he want something?" "I don't know, and honestly, Liam, I don't ever want to find out." Her voice was tight with terror. Liam nodded slowly, but Emily observed the little strain in his shoulders and the squeezing of his hands into fists. He was attempting to control his reaction for her sake. "Emily," he replied softly but firmly. "You trust me, right?" She stared into his eyes, seeing steadfast strength and genuine affection. "Of course I do, Liam, with my whole heart." "Then there's truly nothing to worry about," he replied, his forced tiny smile softening into something more encouraging. "He's part of a past that has no place in your incredible future. Not anymore." But Emily knew Liam wasn't going to let this go lightly. He was a fixer and protector, and for the first time, she felt deeply relieved that he was. The next day, while Emily was overseeing the delivery of new pottery kilns, Liam decided to take action. He didn't like the notion of someone from Emily's past, especially Mark, returning to cast a pall over her hard-earned happiness. He made a few clandestine calls, relying on old contacts, and when he discovered the full scope of Mark's previous dealings, his dodgy business enterprises, his history of manipulation, Liam's protective instincts surged. Mark was more than simply an ex-boyfriend. He was a destructive force who had belittled Emily's goals and eroded her confidence when she needed it the most. Liam was not going to let someone like that to breathe the same air as the lady he loved. That night, as he waited for Emily to finish up at the studio and the final light of darkness faded over the ocean, he strode up to her, his face determined. "I want you to promise me something, Emily," he stated softly but firmly. Emily looked up from her painting with a confused expression in her eyes. "What?" "That you will never let Mark, or anyone like him, dim your light again. That you will never allow anyone to undermine what we've built here, what you've built within yourself." He crossed his arms, his posture exuding quiet power. She grimaced, a flash of old grief in her eyes. "Liam, he means nothing to me. Not anymore." "Then why have you been so upset since he called?" he asked gently, nudging her to face the lingering shadows. She looked away for a minute, letting out a sigh. "Because he's part of a past I'd rather forget. A past where I doubted myself, where I let someone else define my worth." Liam reached out and took her hands in his, turning her to face him completely. "Then forget it, Emily. Erase it. You have an incredible future to build. One that is entirely yours, and one that I want to be part of." Emily's eyes softened, and a deep, unshakable determination filled them. "And does that future include you, Liam? Truly?" He smiled, a genuine and honest expression that warmed her heart. "If you wanted to, Emily. With every fiber of my being, yes." She took a deep breath and tightened her grip on his hands. "I do." And, standing in the silent embrace of their shared dream, Emily realized that the past no longer held any power over her. It was a lesson learnt, and the scar is healed. What mattered right now was the future, which she was creating with her own hands and heart, and she knew exactly who she wanted to share it with. The sun was setting beyond the horizon of the coastal town, painting the sky in blazing hues of orange, rose, and gold. A soft sea breeze, carrying the aroma of salt and budding jasmine, swung the studio curtains as Emily finalized the day's last details. The Canvas Collective had formally opened its doors a few weeks earlier, and business had been a resounding success. She couldn't complain. Everything was going better than she could have expected, with each day proving the value of perseverance and shared ambitions. Liam stepped in, resting on the counter of her busy workshop with a serene, happy look on his face. "Are you tired, Em?" he said, his voice quiet and sweet. Emily let out a delighted sigh and wiped a stray dab of paint from her cheek. A little, but it's the best kind of tired. It's worth every single moment. He noted the deep glitter in her eyes and the vibrant energy she exuded. I never doubted that, not for a second. She stared at him warmly, her eyes brimming with thanks. I never would have made it this far without you, Liam. You championed me, even when I doubted myself. Liam traversed the space between them, taking her hand and interlocking his fingers with hers. You would have, Emily. You have an incredible spirit, but I'm so incredibly glad we did this together. The silence between them subsided, replaced only by the distant murmur of waves smashing on the shore and the delicate rustle of leaves outside. Then Liam took a big breath, his eyes meeting hers, as if he were deliberately selecting words of great significance. Emily, have you ever thought about the really long future? She raised an eyebrow, a teasing smile spreading over her lips. What do you mean, really long? I mean, he paused for a while, his smile broadening and a touch of nervousness in his eyes. Do you see yourself with me? Not just next year or 5 years, but in 10, 20, 50 years? Growing old, creating, and living by my side? Her heart pounded with a joyous, unwavering beat. Her smile grew, unflinching. Yes, Liam. 1,000 times, yes. Liam's eyes brightened up, and a sense of relief washed over his face. He softly removed her hand for a moment, but his gaze never left hers. That's good, he said quietly, because I do too. More than anything. Before Emily could grasp what he was saying, Liam slipped one hand into his pocket and knelt before her with a swift, deliberate motion. Time seemed to slow, as the sounds of the evening faded into calm expectancy. Her eyes widened, and her breath caught in her throat as she noticed the small, gorgeous velvet box in his hands. Emily's heart was suddenly racing so rapidly that it seemed like a hummingbird was imprisoned in her chest. She could hardly breathe. Emily, Liam began, his voice heavy with sorrow and his eyes filled with unshed tears. From the moment you offered me that phone charger, lost and helpless on that deserted street, my life changed irrevocably. I never imagined that a woman like you, with your courage, your kindness, your incredible talent and spirit, would cross my path and turn everything I knew upside down. Tears, hot and delicious, flowed down her cheeks. Liam continued, his voice unwavering despite the emotion. You taught me that true success isn't about money or status. It's about genuine connection, shared dreams, and being with someone who makes every single moment worthwhile. And you, Emily, you make every moment of my life not only worthwhile, but extraordinarily beautiful. His voice wavered slightly with profound sincerity. I can't imagine a single day, a single sunset, a single brushstroke without you by my side. I want to build every day, every dream, every quiet moment, and every grand adventure by your side for the rest of our lives. He opened the little box, showing a delicate but brightly dazzling diamond ring that appeared to capture the final light of the setting sun. Emily Diaz, will you marry me? Will you make me the happiest man alive? Tears ran down her cheeks, and a dazzling grin broke through. She didn't have to consider because her heart already knew the answer. Yes, she said, her voice strangled with delight, a booming whisper of assurance. Liam grinned, his eyes sparkling, as he carefully placed the ring on her finger. It matched well, symbolizing their unexpected yet destined adventure. He immediately stood and drew her into a close embrace, embracing her as if she were the most valuable thing in the world. A wave of ecstatic clapping broke out from the front of the art center, as the few remaining artists and staff members who had surreptitiously watched the spectacle celebrated, some wiping away their own heartfelt tears. Emily smiled through her tears, throwing her head back and holding Liam's face with both hands, her eyes fixated on him. I love you, Liam, more than words can say. He returned her look, his smile soft and full. I love you more, Emily. My beautiful artist, my partner, my future. And then he kissed her, a kiss full of profound emotion, solemn promises, and the joyful assurance of a future that began right then, under the painted sky of their new house, in the same environment they had created together. The wedding took place a few months later, on a beautiful late afternoon, right in the center of the Canvas Collective. The main hall, which is normally filled with easels and clay, was transformed into a gorgeous ceremony area. Sunlight flooded through the big windows, illuminating bright floral arrangements that reflected Emily's creative energy. The air was filled with the joyous talk of friends and relatives, a lovely blend of Emily's loving community and Liam's originally reserved but now truly smiling acquaintances. Emily walked carefully down the spacious aisle, which was lined with sculptures and paintings created by local artists. She wore a soft, flowing gown with exquisite, hand-painted motifs that shimmered under the light. Her eyes, filled with perfect joy, were fixed on Liam, who stood at the altar, gazing at her with a love so profound that it appeared to illuminate the entire room. She had never been happier or more certain about anything in her life. When she eventually got to him, Liam took her hands, his grip firm and reassuring, a quiet promise. The officiant began the ceremony, but Emily and Liam felt as if the world had melted away, leaving only their two hearts beating in perfect harmony. "Emily," Liam began when it was time for the vows, his voice clear and filled with emotion, "from the moment you offered me kindness on a dark, forgotten street, I realized my life, despite its outward successes, was deeply incomplete. I thought I had everything, but I didn't know what true happiness, true purpose, felt like. You, my love, showed me that real wealth isn't measured in balance sheets or titles. It's in the genuine moments, the shared passion, the unwavering." Emily smiled through her tears, her voice filled with emotion as she clutched his hands. "Liam, you didn't just believe in my dreams. You helped me truly believe in myself. You showed me that the most beautiful creations aren't just on canvas, but in the life we build, brick by brick, moment by moment. You helped me find a future I never thought was possible." She breathed steadily and wiped away a tear that had fallen. "I promise to stand by your side through every challenge, every victory, every quiet moment of doubt, and every grand, shared dream. I promise to be your canvas, your inspiration, and your home, always." Liam grinned, blinking away his own tears, his gaze fixed on hers. The officiant, evidently moved, smiled at them before saying, "By the power vested in me, and by the undeniable love I see before me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." Liam didn't waste another second. With a joyful laugh, he gently cupped Emily's face and kissed her, a kiss that marked both a conclusion and a new beginning. The entire art center exploded in loud ovation, accompanied by joyful yells and glad tears. The music of their community's celebration, the vivid art around them, and the profound love reflected in each other's eyes made the event even more memorable. And in that moment, as their hearts beat in perfect harmony, Emily and Liam knew they were precisely where they needed to be. What an incredible journey for Liam and Emily, proving that the best stories begin in the most unexpected places. If you love this story, hit the subscribe button and join our community for more amazing stories every week.